Imagine waking up, checking the news, and discovering someone's launched an entire website dedicated to getting you fired. Not a Twitter thread, not a petition buried somewhere on change.org, but an actual dedicated domain name with your sacking as the sole purpose. Well, that's exactly what's just happened to Rachel Reeves. And honestly, it might be the most humiliating moment of her political career so far. But before we proceed, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more updates on the UK political insight. Thank you. The Conservatives have gone nuclear and launched sackreeves.com, a website calling on Keir Starmer to do what he should probably already be considering and give his Chancellor the boot. Why? Because she's been accused of lying about OBR forecasts to justify what they're calling her budget for Benefit Street. This is absolutely brutal, politically devastating, and we need to unpack every glorious detail because this story has more twists than a pretzel factory, and the fallout could reshape British politics. Let's start with the basics, because this is deliciously simple. The Conservatives have created an online petition demanding Keir Starmer sack Rachel Reeves. Not just any petition, but one with its own dedicated website, professional branding, and a coordinated social media campaign. This isn't amateur hour, this is a full-scale political assault designed to turn Rachel Reeves into the most toxic brand in Westminster. And the timing couldn't be more perfect, because it comes right after the Office for Budget Responsibility published documents that basically prove Reeves has been, to put it charitably, economical with the truth. Or to put it less charitably, lying through her teeth about the state of Britain's finances. Here's what actually happened, and pay attention because this is the smoking gun that's got the Tories absolutely salivating. The OBR sent a letter revealing it told the Chancellor as early as September 17th that prevailing economic winds meant a black hole in the UK's finances would be much smaller than previously believed. September 17th. That's nearly 2 months before the budget. Then, just to make things even more damning, the OBR informed Reeves in October that the spending gap had closed altogether. Closed, as in there was no black hole, no fiscal crisis, no emergency requiring massive tax rises. The gap had disappeared, gone, vanished into thin air, like your optimism about this government. But what did Rachel Reeves do with this information? Did she announce actually good news, everyone? The numbers are better than we thought. We won't need those painful tax rises after all? Did she level with the British public about the true state of the finances? Of course she didn't. Instead, the budget on Wednesday came after weeks, literally weeks, of warnings from Reeves that she would need to make hard choices in her financial plan. Hard choices. That was the phrase she kept using, setting everyone up for pain, for sacrifice, for belt-tightening, all while knowing the fiscal situation wasn't nearly as bad as she was making out. That's not politics, that's fraud. That's standing in front of the country and deliberately misleading people to justify policies you want to implement anyway. Kemi has absolutely pounced on this like a cat on a particularly slow mouse. She posted on X, "Sack Reeves now. We have learned that the Chancellor misrepresented the OBR's forecasts. She sold her Benefit Street budget on a lie. Honesty matters. Tell Starmer what he must already know. She has to go." Benefit Street budget. That's a phrase designed to stick, and it's going to haunt Rachel Reeves for the rest of her career. It paints a picture of a chancellor who lied to the public so she could funnel billions into welfare while hammering working people with tax rises. Whether that's entirely fair is debatable, but in politics, perception is everything. And right now, the perception is that Reeves is a liar who can't be trusted with the nation's finances. Now, Downing Street has rallied around Reeves, at least for now. A Number 10 spokesperson insisted on Friday that the Chancellor did not mislead the public or markets when she warned of difficult decisions, which is technically true if you squint really hard and ignore all the evidence. She warned of difficult decisions, sure, she just failed to mention those decisions weren't actually necessary because the black hole she kept banging on about had closed before she even gave her big, scary speech about hard choices. So she didn't technically lie, she just omitted crucial information that completely changed the context of everything she was saying. That's like a mechanic telling you your car needs a new engine while knowing it actually just needs an oil change. Technically, they haven't lied, they've just massively misled you to justify charging more money. The SACReeves.com website pulls absolutely no punches. It reads, Rachel Reeves wanted her budget for Benefit Street so badly, she lied about the OBR's forecasts. Also, she could justify breaking her promise not to raise tax on working people. Labor's lies are costing us more and more. Sign the petition to make Keir Starmer do the right thing and sack Rachel Reeves. That's about as direct as political messaging gets. No ambiguity, no hedging, just a straight accusation of dishonesty and a clear demand for consequences. The Conservatives are betting that enough people are angry enough about being lied to that they'll sign this petition in droves, creating a groundswell of pressure that makes Reeves's position untenable. Let's rewind to November 4th, just a few days before the budget. Rachel Reeves gave a big speech at Downing Street setting the scene. She suggested tax rises were needed to secure the UK's economic future and that poor productivity growth would have consequences for the public finances in terms of lower tax revenue. This was the warm-up act, the trailer before the main feature, designed to get everyone expecting the worst so the actual budget would seem somehow more reasonable. Except we now know from the OBR letter that an improved tax take from growing wages and inflation meant the gap she was warning about had diminished before she even made that big scary speech about hard choices. So she didn't technically lie, she just omitted crucial information that completely changed the context of everything she was saying. That's like a mechanic telling you your car needs a new engine while knowing it actually just needs an oil change. Technically, they haven't lied. They've just massively misled you to justify charging more money. Ben Zaranko, the economist at the Institute for Fiscal Studies, absolutely nailed the absurdity of this situation. He wrote on social media, at no point in the process did the OBR have the government missing their fiscal rules by a large margin. Leaves me baffled by the months of speculation and briefing. Was the plan to lead everyone to expect a big income tax rise, then surprise them on the day by not doing it? That question cuts right to the heart of what's so infuriating about this. The entire narrative was manufactured. The crisis was exaggerated or invented outright, and the only logical explanation is that Reeves wanted political cover to raise taxes and increase welfare spending, so she created a fake emergency to justify it. At the budget on Wednesday, Reeves hiked taxes by 26 billion quid. That includes freezing thresholds on income tax, which is a stealth tax that drags more and more people into higher brackets as wages rise. The tax hikes came in response to downgraded economic forecasts, sure, but also, and this is crucial, increased welfare spending because of the abolition of the two-child benefit cap and the labor revolt over attempts to curb the benefits bill. So let's be very clear about the sequence of events. Reeves knew the fiscal situation was manageable. She exaggerated the problem, she used that exaggerated problem to justify massive tax rises, and then she used the money from those tax rises not to fix a black hole that didn't exist, but to fund welfare expansion that labor backbenchers demanded. That's not fiscal responsibility, that's political calculation dressed up as economic necessity. Reeves also, and this is particularly cynical, used some of the tax take to build herself a bigger buffer against her borrowing rules. So she overtaxed working people, used some of the money for welfare, and stashed the rest away to make her own numbers look better. It's like a kid being given money for school lunch, spending half on sweets, and putting the other half in their piggy bank while telling their parents they desperately needed extra money for educational supplies. Except instead of a kid in pocket money, it's the Chancellor of the Exchequer and billions of taxpayer cash. Kemi Badenoch has followed up her initial attack with another post hammering the point home. Yet more evidence, as if we needed it, that the Chancellor must be sacked. For months, Reeves has lied to the public to justify record tax hikes to pay for more welfare. Her budget wasn't about stability, it was about politics, bribing Labour MPs to save her own skin. Shameful. Bribing Labour MPs to save her own skin, that's a serious accusation, but it fits the evidence. Reeves faced a rebellion from her own backbenchers over welfare cuts. Rather than face them down and stick to fiscal discipline, she caved, scrapped the two-child cap, and funded it with tax rises she'd already decided to implement using a manufactured fiscal crisis as justification. That's weak leadership combined with dishonest presentation, and it's exactly the kind of thing that ends political careers. Shadow Chancellor Stride piled on as well, calling on Reeves to resign. He said Rachel Reeves' broken tax promises and the briefing debacle in the run-up to the budget have had real consequences for our economy and for people across the country. The Chancellor must now do the right thing and step down. Now, obviously, the Conservatives have their own motivations here. They're in opposition, they want to wound the government, and bringing down a Chancellor would be a massive scalp. But that doesn't mean they're wrong. Reeves did break tax promises, the briefing in the run-up to the budget was demonstrably misleading, and there are real consequences when governments lie about the state of public finances. The consequences aren't just political, they're economic. When a chancellor loses credibility with markets, with businesses, with international investors, that has tangible impacts. Borrowing costs can rise, investment decisions get delayed, economic confidence takes a hit. Reeves has damaged her own credibility so badly with this debacle that even if she survives politically,